Hey everyone, welcome to Our Small Footprint. Today is the day before I go on my 6-weekly shopping trip. So I am sitting out in the garden because it's pretty much the only somewhat quiet place to sit, though there's been plenty of interruptions. Many interruptions, but I'm trying to get my listing done. So I've done my inventory like I showed you last month up on the shelves, and I'm going to reorganize and make sure that that's all sorted before I go as well. Sometimes while I'm shopping too, I send Darryl text messages and say, so how much of this is left and how much of that is left, because I might have forgotten to note it down. And there's some things that we buy each month no matter what, just sometimes varies on what amounts. Depends on the sales too. But also part of planning is some meals that may have been discussed that we want to make. So last month I was going to make some bao buns and I was going to make some Kievs, but then when I went shopping I didn't have the appropriate things to buy, like they weren't on sale. I didn't end up doing it, so I've transferred them over to this month. It's change of season, so it's winter, so we do a lot of breads and soups. So this month I contacted my fruit and veg guy to see what's on special and to let him know that I wanted some certain things. So I'm probably going to be getting a whole lot of apples and maybe some new season onions and pineapples hopefully. So there'll be a lot of canning that needs to be done with those, but I also have plans to do a whole lot of soups because we're down to only half a dozen jars of soup on the shelf, and in winter it's a really easy thing to just have fresh bread every day and big jars of soup to heat up. So it means I need to make sure that I buy lots of potatoes and carrots and onions and get myself some stewing meat. I'd really like to do some beef stews, so some beef would be good. It's just never particularly well priced, but we will see what we can get and do it that way. Chicken if we have to. So the chicken that I bought last month, the $49 boxes, still appear to be on sale, so we'll see if they are, and we will probably grab more of them if they are, and we'll figure out how to do that as well. So I sit down here and I have a notebook which has some previous shopping in it. I have my recipe book, I have my laptop here if I need it to check any pricing, and I have my lists here. I'm looking at doing an honest to goodness order. And honest to goodness is sort of like the equivalent of the American Azure standard, except that they don't deliver it anywhere. You have to pay shipping to yourself, which is a little bit sucky, especially when you're out where I am, because shipping is quite expensive. But the pricing on their product is quite good, and it's bulk, which means I don't have to get all the packaging. So I need some almonds and cashews and some coconut, sesame seeds, oats, sugar, that sort of thing, and I'm going to look at pricing that up. I've got it in the shopping cart on my laptop, and then I'm going to look at the price at Woolworths and Coles and compare them and then look at it. But minimum $500 order is what I look at it, honest to goodness. So sometimes the things that are slightly more expensive, it's still worthwhile doing to get it as part of that. I looked at shipping for about a $500 order of what I was looking at, worked out about $80 to out here. If I broke that down at a per kilo rate, it still ended up a pretty good price for a lot of these things. And a lot of these things are a lot better quality as well than the stuff that I'm going to get from Coles or Woolworths as a comparison. Almonds aren't too badly priced at Costco, but they don't sell raw cashews. They only sell those like the roasted pieces, the expensive ones, and that's fine, but it's not what I generally buy, the broken pieces, because I use them for cooking. I also still haven't got around to doing my bulk spice order, so I'm going to look at doing that through Nuts About Life. So I've got that listed here as well to make sure that I know that it's here. I'm going to price it and put it as part of the budget. So I've got on my list here, I have what I'm going to need for the canning and what the recipes that I'm intending to cook as well. There's certain things that I want to do this month. I'm just adding now sausage rolls. The kids wanted some sausage rolls, so I've got puff pastry down on my Costco list, and I'm going to put sausage rolls in my things to cook list, and then I generally buy all the things that I would put in my sausage rolls anyway. So the idea is I got my new mincer part finally, so I'm going to be buying a few porks so I can do a whole lot of sausages up as well. So I've got sausages written down here, and then I normally use that pork mince to make my sausage rolls as well, so I will do that too. I definitely want to get some arborio rice this month. I couldn't get any last month. I'm going to find it this month because in this kind of weather, oven baked risottos are really good. So I will do that as well. The other thing I do is I make a list based on each store location, so that I don't generally take this pad in with me to the shops because it's just too bulky, my planner, but I take a photo of the image so that I can see what it is that I want to get. The dogs are barking because the kids are playing in the paddock. So I have that here, but I have miscellaneous stuff too. So I'm going to go down tomorrow. I have a doctor's appointment at lunchtime, and then I'm going to drive from then down to Brisbane. So I'll get there late afternoon, and then I'm going to spend tomorrow, Thursday, the day after, doing a whole bunch of sort of like errand type stuff. I'll do Aldi and that, but I also need to go to Bunnings and to Kmart, so I've got lists for each of those locations as well that I will use to make sure that I don't forget anything. So I tend to price all that up before I go, make lists for each store, and then I go in with the lists on my phone so that I can try and make sure I cover everything and it's all within the budget, because I only have a set amount of money to spend each trip that I'm down there, so I have to keep it within that. I've also contacted the butcher that I go to see if they can hold some lard for me, because I really need to render some more lard. We are low on that. So I have sent them a message, and they normally hold what they can for me in the time between now and when I get there. So that works. What else have I got here? Alright, so that's basically it. So the planning part of it, I don't plan heavily. I don't meal plan. I don't list down what we're going to eat each day or anything like that. I literally have a list here of what I'm going to, things that I might cook, and then the different locations of places that I'm going to get things. If I have anything new or out of the ordinary that I want to try, I always make sure to list it down here so that I know to grab those few items. And they sometimes are things that I will look at, and I will go through and get all my normal stuff, and then I'll work out if I've got enough to do the extras that I want to make those things that I don't necessarily know if they're going to work for us or not. We are really low on oats at the moment, but I'm going to do that honest to goodness order hopefully, so I'm going to have to work that out before I go, because I can't risk going and thinking, oh no, I'm going to get it delivered, and then not know when it's going to be and run out of things like oats. So I think I've only got maybe 5 kilos of oats left, and we can use 1 kilo in a day, so that's, something that needs to be sorted. We've been making baked oats as well as normal porridge, as well as the cookies and things like that, so that works well. Honest to goodness also has 5-litre jugs of apple cider vinegar, which I just remembered. It's on my list, which I will double check, but I'm going to take that off my Costco list because they sell the 3 936ml bottles, which are great, and it's a nice bottle that to be reused. They're glass bottles, but a 5-litre would be really handy, and I'll just tip that into the Costco bottles that I've already got, because that will work well for that. I have listed here some of our standards, pizza and bolognese and things like that, because we do them every month, so it'll be whatever, some of our standard stuff as well. I normally try and sit there and think, we're trying to drag the shopping out to about 6 weeks, so it's about 42 dinner meals. But the problem is that we eat a lot of these meals as leftovers for lunch, or we cook them purposely for lunch and then eat them for dinner as well, which makes it really hard. But I also have the whole, I buy what's on special and what I can get, and then I make it work from there. So meal planning really isn't something that works for us. It's just not feasible. So having a good idea though of what I can cook from the ingredients I'm going to purchase is the main thing that I do. So I like to sit here and have a distinct list of the items that I intend to cook in the month, so that I know that I'm going to have the ingredients for those items. And then once I've got this list, once I get home and I've got the stuff, like if there's stuff that needs to be cooked in a certain amount of time, like we've discussed this before, that beef mince is one of the things that needs to be cooked first up, because it goes off quicker because of the surface area. So one of the first couple of nights we normally have hamburgers because of that, and we nearly always make bolognese up initially and then put it in the freezer as well, because the beef mince needs to be used up first. So the rate of things that are cooked, so like for dinner tonight I'm making fried rice, and the reason I'm making fried rice is because we have these ends of ham pieces that we got in the hamper and a whole lot of pre-cooked omelette egg things. And we don't use that sort of stuff very often. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slice up all the ham and fry it off a bit like bacon, and then slice up all the eggs as well, and use it with some frozen vegetables and rice and soy sauce and things. And that's the sort of meal that I would throw together at the end of the month. looking at what we had left and what still needs to be used. So that's what I'm going to do for tonight. I also have 2 loaves of bread to go in, so I will put them in as well, and then the kids can have them while I'm gone as well. I do normally make a batch of flatbread as well for Darryl to and the kids to use while I'm gone, because they're quite capable of rolling it out and cooking it when they want it. There is plenty of smoked chicken in the freezer for them to use while I'm gone as well. And I also look at that. Sometimes I look at what's left, but know that by the time I actually get back, that's probably not going to be left, because that's what they'll rely on while I'm gone. So I very much do it in a broad range of things. It has to be, I have to be aware of the food, but I don't necessarily eat it in a specific order. Canning wise though, because it's winter, we do eat a lot of soups, and we should be getting new season onions in the fruit and veg shortly, so that'll be good. I'll make more of our caramelized onion jam. But the big thing this month, I think, is apples. I want a whole lot of apples canned up for making things with, so I'm going to buy a whole lot of apples to do that with. Where was I? Interrupted again. Another child. You can probably hear the chainsaw going in the background too. Darryl's cutting firewood because the temperatures have definitely dropped here. So yes, routine change, it makes a difference too, and it always takes me a month or two to pull into that routine change. Like in summer we eat a lot of grilled meat, grilled vegetables, and just have that as that's what we eat. But in winter we tend to eat more meals too. We tend to eat, we might eat 3 meals a day instead of 2 meals a day, Darryl and I. The kids always just eat whatever they eat, but in summer Darryl and I tend to just eat a late breakfast and dinner. In winter we're more inclined to eat 3 meals a day or to snack, which is why I tend to bake more in winter as well. So the canned soups works well because we can have a big main meal and then have the soups at dinner. But bread baking becomes an issue in winter because of proofing times. So I normally proof my bread overnight, but in winter you can't proof it overnight out on the bench because it just won't proof. So you have to bring it inside. But if we've got the fire going, then there is the issue that it can get too hot inside. So you have to find the right spot to put it so that it doesn't overproof, and you have to fiddle with your starter quantities to make sure that it's a lower quantity of starter because the temperature is going to maintain the same all night and things like that. So there's a little bit of a routine change and a habit change that has to occur in winter compared to summer. And because winter feels like it's never going to get here and then it just hits, we should have our first frost this week theoretically. So once the winter just eventually hits, then you're not quite as prepared for it as you would hoped. And I find that each year when the seasons change, I sit there and I go, I don't remember it being like this last year, but when I look back on my charts, it's how it happens every year. So we changing our routines and changing our habits at the moment is part and parcel of what we're doing. So the canning of the soups is definitely a winter sort of a thing, because I did can a lot of potato soups when we pulled our potatoes out of the ground, mind you, so I suppose this is the first year that we did potatoes, so I suppose that's going to be a thing too, and maybe I have to figure out the quantities that we actually require to do that, because it's still a learning process, this whole trying to live off our land and trying to work out our monthly self-sustainability, and now dragging we went from fortnightly to 4 weekly, and now we're out to 5 or 6 weeks between shops. It'll be 6 weeks-ish by the time I get back from this one, and we've done fine. The last week we tend to get a little antsy about picking food. No one really wants to pick anything just because there isn't a whole lot of choice, so you just end up eating whatever you eat, but that's the way it goes. So yes, this looks to be, there's nothing, there's a birthday in June. Apollo is turning 11. But other than that, there isn't anything significant in this month that we need to prepare for. And if there's anything specific I need for Apollo, we can always get it from town, if that's the case. Oranges were the other things. I really want to get some oranges to make the orange cakes, and I want to try canning those oranges so that I can make those orange cakes all year round. Yes, baby. Please don't.
I'm trying to hide from the camera.
So I'm going to try canning the oranges so I can make the orange almond cakes, and that's also why I need more almond meal from Honest to Goodness as well, or almonds, and I can grind it down to almond meal myself in the Thermomix, so we will see how that goes. So that is the planning for the grocery shop. I don't know if any of that rambling will be of any assistance to you at all. It's one of those processes that a lot of it happens in my head. Did you want something, baby?
I think I want to call tomorrow. Can you play skipping rope?
You want a skipping rope when I do shopping. I can buy you a skipping rope. Yep. All right, jump out. So a skipping rope has been requested. I will put that on my Kmart list because apparently that's important. So yeah, I'm not real sure how useful the rambling is, because it's a process that everyone has to come to themselves, and it's not going to work for every family or every lifestyle. You know, I'm home all day every day, which allows me to do a lot of this prep. So, you know, over those first 2 weeks I spend 6 to 8 hours a day in the kitchen, and then in the last 2 weeks I don't have to go in there very much because I can just direct a child or Darryl to, you know, there's jars of this on the shelf, or I just make bread every day, or I bake. You know, I do it more as additional stuff than as necessary stuff. So, and not everyone would be happy with that. Like the second half of the month, our food can be a little repetitive, but it's always, there's plenty to eat. It's just not necessarily the first choice, but that's how I suppose if you shop weekly or if you shop fortnightly, the end of your week is going to be like that, or the end of your fortnight is going to be like that anyway. We just happen to do it every 4 to 6 weeks. So the plan, so I've gone through my inventory, I've checked what's on my shelf, I've double checked what I need to do to top up those items, all the normal stuff, all our standard stuff, the same inventory list that I had last month. So it's all the standard, did all my what's on my shelf, what's left, what we need, and all the rest of it. We didn't run out of anything in bacon this month. I think we ran out of bacon, but other than that we didn't really run out of anything, so nothing is dire. We're on the last of a couple of things. I think we're on the last jar of ghee, and I don't think I've got any dried spirals left. We went through a lot of pasta this month. I'm not entirely sure why, but we did. So I think we're out of dried spirals as well, so we need to make sure to grab those. As you saw in one of my previous videos, I can make pasta, and I do have a spiral cutter for my extruder as well. It's just that it takes time, and store-bought dried pasta really has nothing bad in it, so it just doesn't seem like it's one of those things that is worthwhile to do when the kids actually prefer the dried pasta. I found, like, in the lasagna soup it's a bit different. You want that pasta to cook in the soup. You want it to create that starch and that creaminess in there, and you want the pasta to be really soft. But in bolognese and stuff, they actually prefer the dried stuff. They prefer the texture of it, and that's fine. It saves me time. I know that if I can't buy it, I can make it, and that's the main thing, is that if I can't get it, I can make it, and we can still have that as a meal. But whilst I can buy it and they're happy to eat it, then I may as well buy it. So we'll go from there. So yes, spirals, and I think they're out of rice cakes maybe, or something. I think the dog got the last of the peanut butter today too, so you know, that impresses me immensely, but we'll have to do what we have to do. So that is the plan. So I am getting a new phone tomorrow when I go into Brisbane. It went to Mum's place because Mum helped me sort it out, so I will try and film some of my shopping as I'm going with it, because I'm just not comfortable carrying my big camera. It's too hard anyway, it's too bulky. I already wear my gardening belt rather than carrying a bag because it makes it more convenient. So I will try and take some footage of the shopping or talk to you while I'm making some decisions and things like that, but we'll see how we go. I'm not promising that, but it definitely will be easier with a phone than not. And Mum is coming with me on Friday to do the Costco and the fruit and veg and that, because she has Fridays off. So, and it happened to work well this month, so that will be nice as well. There'll be a second set of hands. She pushes another trolley. It just makes it easier. I can do it on my own, but it's always nice to have company. And because I'm there for an extra day, I will do Aldi and Bunnings and stuff the day before, which means I don't have to rush through Costco and that, because we want to get home before dark. It's just too hard to unpack otherwise. So anyway, I have rambled, and when I edit this, I'm probably going to look at it and go, no one is going to want to listen to anything I have just said, but I will share it regardless. In the meantime, I think I'm going to pick some... I have no idea where I was up to. We had a child yelling they hurt themselves, so I bolted off to check that. Now the roosters are going off their nuts. Anyway, I'm going to pick some chilies. I think I was getting towards that. I'm looking behind me here, behind the camera here, and all my shishito peppers and stuff have got some chilies on there, and if it frosts while I'm gone, then it might cause an issue. So I'm going to go and pick them, and then I'm going to go finish dinner and get all that sorted for the kids. It is 10 to 4, so I've got all the other stuff out. I just need to cook the rice, and I'm going to cook the bread and things like that, and then finish this up, get a video done while I'm doing it, sorting it out, and I will put it up for you. So any further questions, ask. I don't know if I've covered much information, to be honest. It's a really hard subject. As I said, it very much depends on each family and how you cook and how you shop and how you eat. And we've got a large family, and with such a large family, it makes a real difference. I look at other people's grocery hauls and other people's meal planning and stuff, and I just sit there and I don't understand how they can buy such a small amount of food for their families and it to work, because we can't. But I'm also aware that I buy far more than we actually eat in a month, because I have a bit of a stockpile for emergencies, but also just for being able to drag our shopping out further. If I couldn't get to the shops this week, then we'd have to make do, and we could for quite a while, not necessarily enjoyably, but we could, and that's the main thing. So anyway, I am going to leave it here. I'm going to pack all this up. I'm going to get those peppers. I'm going to finish dinner, and then I'll sit down and I will try and finish the rest of my lists and get this video up. And then if you have anything to ask me about it, then please do, and I will try and follow this process through of the shopping as well. And then my normal, so I'll video every day while I'm prepping all the food, because everyone seems to really enjoy that, and get the videos out that show how hectic my kitchen is for that first 2 weeks and what I get done. And there's going to be a lot of canning this month. I think I really want to get some of these apples and oranges and stuff done while they're in season. It's a bit of a newer thing for me, this whole buying in really large quantities when it's in season. But I think it's really beneficial. Once we have our own fruit trees and stuff, it's going to be a little bit different. We'll be doing it from ourselves, but it's probably 2 or 3 years before we get significant harvests realistically. So for the moment, purchasing it in bulk and doing what I'm doing is getting me prepared for when we have it from our own land. So that is the thought process there. We're still working on the chicken pen. It is still, I have to buy, that's the other thing I have to get at Bunnings, which I just remember here, the Avery wire for the new chicken pen, and we are waiting on some timber as well to build the gates and the nesting boxes and things like that. So it's probably still going to be a little bit longer, which is why I potted up all my berries like I showed you the other day, and I'm not planning on having that done anytime soon. It has to be done in the not too distant future, because we want to pull down some of this structure in the garden here and fence it off with the fruit trees and everything in it as well, and I can't get these garden beds sorted until we pull some of this structure down. So it has to be done over the next month or so, but we also need the cypress for the gates and the nesting boxes, and we need the Avery wire for the edges and all that sort of thing. I also have a couple of macadamia trees that I bought, and some cutting seedlings. I'm not sure what it was grown from, to be honest, but I am planning on creating a little bit of a space out near the new chicken pen where I can have my table and chairs and things like that, and I can plant those macadamia trees, and then in 10 years time there will be all this shade that they're going to provide over a workspace or whatever I want, or an outdoor area. Could do a little roof there or whatever, but out the back there would be nice. I thought about doing it in the garden space, but the garden space is mostly in sun all day, and you want it to be mostly in sun all day because it's a garden. So it'd be nice to have somewhere out there near the chickens, and that I can sit out and do this kind of thing. So that's the plan. So I'll leave it at that for today. I've rambled enough, and I will see you again in another couple of days. I don't think I've got anything prepared to upload while I'm gone. So you'll just have to follow me on Instagram if you want to see some updates over the next couple of days of the groceries and that sort of thing. And then normally I put the grocery haul up the evening that I get back, or the next morning. So we'll see how we go, and I will see you then. Thanks for watching.